Shout out Sniper T on the beat.
Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise, with life on the forefront of the mind. So line for line, you can ride this brain train and you can change your station without even touching the dial. So relax, stay a little bit, but listen for a while. And whether you're bumping this in the whip or in a business fit, it's a meeting you won't want to miss. A meeting for a meal to feed the soul with words for the mind. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Time to take off, it's time to fly. Cause Tamara till the break of dawn is on the rise.
Hey, y'all. It's me, Tamara. Yes. When the studio audience is on point, it really does something to my soul, y'all. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hold on, let me adjust this because there we go. Thank you so much for tuning in. New listeners, new episodes drop every Thursday. So come on back through. I usually talk about my life and the ways that I'm trying to grow. To all my regular supporters, I appreciate y'all. You already know what it is. The day 1, 2, 3, 4. Wherever you came in, thank you so much for continuing to support. If you're not, you should totally follow me on social media, and the link to my social media as well as my YouTube that you should totally, you know what I'm saying, subscribe to. It's $0 to support in that way. You know what I'm saying? So the link to that and my YouTube and everything else is in the episode notes. So make sure y'all come through for that. Podcast happy hour next Thursday, I think the 27th. Not even sure all the details, but we're supposed to have a watch party. So again, I don't even know what all the details with that is, but I will give you more information. Like, follow us on social media and you'll figure it out. I feel like Jay is the one hosting it, but again, I don't even know all the details on that. So yeah, more to come on that. I think that's it. So I'm going to lightweight. I do have a guest. My homie Vaughn is the guest today. Studio audience, do your thing. Yes, appreciate y'all. Y'all know what I'm saying. I'm going to officially introduce him a little bit later, but I am going to ask him this first question to kind of kick things off on this fine Melanintoxicate Volume 3 episode. Actually, it's called Melanintoxication. Let me get my stuff right, y'all. All right, Vaughn. What is one thing that you enjoy that you are going to share with my listeners all over the world that could potentially get your black card revoked?
Probably the fact that my favorite R&B singer currently is not black.
Who is your favorite R&B singer?
Currently, a guy named Mac Ayres, spelled Ayres.
Okay, Mac Ayres. Let's look him up, y'all. Let's see what he's on. And I'm not gonna play enough that YouTube hopefully doesn't. Mac Ayres. Hopefully they don't. Okay, Mac Ayres popped up. Okay, artist. Okay, y'all. This is an interesting. This is an R&B dude.
Yeah, soul R&B. Yeah,
because his Apple Music picture is like him with a guitar and some. Okay, so let's say he has a song Moonlight. So we will play some of that.
I'm not sure I've heard Moonlight yet.
Well, we all finna just see what he on. Reminds me of the 80s, like late 80s. That's a white dude?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, that girl was in my dreams.
So I'm gonna stop there. I've played 33 seconds. That might be enough to not give me a YouTube flag. I mean, and you can dispute it, but it's annoying when they. It was, which is stupid because my channel's not even monetized, so it really doesn't even matter. But they be like on it as soon as I upload the video. Like, yeah, it's annoying. But all right. I mean, well, I knew he was white because I looked at and saw what, the visuals, the aesthetics, and all that. You see, it's a white man, but yeah, definitely late 80s vibes is what I get from that. Might have to check him out. So, all
Yeah.
right, I'm trying to think. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, he's got he does have some like some funk feeling type songs. He's got some more slower stuff. So stuff I listen to, there's a song called Smoke, a song called Easy, Jumping Off the Moon, and one more song called Better, and then Getaway. So
Maybe I should have asked you like let's say Easy. That was one of the let's play a little bit of Easy real quick since this is a Vaughn favorite. Let's see what got Vaughn choosing this white man over our black R&B artist. Let's see what this is.
Oh, you heard what they say. Oh, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Ain't that a shame?
All right, y'all. We're gonna stop there because that's 41 seconds. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what exactly YouTube's limit is, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get flagged on this video when I upload it, and it's fine because I will just dispute it. I don't even know what makes them really trip with that because I have done karaoke battles where they give me copyright violations or whatever, but they don't shut my video down. So they'll just say, "Oh, it can't be monetized," and I get that because the whole thing is like, even though actually I low key don't get it because it's karaoke, so it's the instrumental, usually not lyrics. But okay, fine. But then I've had where I only played one song and they shut my stuff down just instantly. They didn't care about nothing else so then I disputed it and got it back up there. But yeah, so in case y'all didn't know, fun fact, you can dispute the copyright claims. Now, you got to actually be telling the truth. So I usually say, I'm a podcaster, I was reacting to this, that, and the other, or I was hosting a karaoke battle or whatever. I'm not acting like this is my music, blah, 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 blah. So if that's true about you, you should be able to whatever. But then a fun fact is after so much time, I want to say it's 30 days, if the other person doesn't dispute your dispute or something like that, they'll just remove it anyway. So that's a fun fact in case y'all didn't know. Well, thank you for sharing that with my listeners so they can, judge you or not. They really shouldn't be they really shouldn't be judging you because as I say or have said in the past, it's kind of like if in our black skin we're doing something, that's what black people do. And that's really why I have that part of this particular episode because I hate just the box that sometimes we put ourselves in or sometimes other people try to put us in. And so yeah, welcome, you know what I'm saying? We appreciate you and your time on this fine, well, technically today's Tuesday. Again, to the audience, can we welcome Vaughn to the show? Yes. So, guys, Melanintoxication. These episodes are based off the brand that I created, Melanintoxicate. I feel like melanintoxication happens when someone experiences feelings of euphoria in the presence of someone who is the epitome of black girl magic or the epitome of black boy joy. So every month I will highlight one of my basically black friends and or content creators who basically either has inspired me or does inspire me, and I feel like is the definition of so dope they get high. I'm starting out with my friends that aren't people that I've met in the content creator space just because I'm trying to bring y'all on the show. I haven't up until recently. It's mainly only been podcasters. So if you're a podcaster and I may reach out to you later on. But for this series, just starting off, I don't know. I'm just trying to diversify my guests. Why I feel like I needed to explain that to y'all, I don't know, because I don't ever explain anything about what I do of my show. But I guess more so that podcasters know that, hey, I might reach out to you to have you be a part of this segment. I mean, this series or whatever. So Vaughn and I have been friends. Gosh,
We go back to the mid 2000s.
yeah, definitely over a decade for sure. I feel like I met you at Jason and Lisa's uh New Year's Eve party, but I just don't remember what year it was.
Mhm.
So that's where we like officially met. Then we became Facebook friends, and it's funny because I remember he sent me this video, and like we had never sent funny videos to each other before, and it's at a time where like you thinking people got hacked because that was kind of like new, and then you're paranoid and it's like don't click on the video that they sent you because blah blah blah. So I remember he sent me this video, and so me, everybody's a scammer, everybody's whatever. That's why I don't be getting scammed though, because I don't just trust whatever. I ask questions first. So I was like, did you really send this to me or whatever? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, cool. And we have very similar sense of humor. So we just really clicked ever since then. He is out in Cali. So it seems like a lot of my Nebraska friends, I have a little group of y'all now that are out in Cali. He runs an electrician company. He's also a writer and a proofreader, has a pastoral background, a military veteran. Shout out. Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you
And
for the
like I
support.
said, a wild, wild sense of humor. Like, there are very few people in this world that I trust to not judge me for how wild my sense of humor is. And he is one of these people that, yeah, I'll say the wildest stuff and he'll just laugh. Like, I've never, especially when you're a believer, and some people could be so like, oh my gosh, and I mean, God knows what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Facts. Facts.
So yeah, y'all, this is my homie for real, for real. Not saying other people are not my friends. But this is the homie. I don't even know how I want to start this episode. Like, I have this. Y'all gotta understand today. Like, on the backside of things, today has been like the weirdest day. So like, I'm here, I'm recording, whatever, but I don't know why I feel like out of sorts or whatever. So let's start here. Let's talk about your military experience. How long were you? First of all, what made you join the military, and then how long were you in the military?
No, well, first of all, Tam, I want to say thank you for having me on. I
Oh,
appreciate
yeah.
this opportunity. I just want to honor you for the hard work you put in to build the podcast up to the point where it's at. Even though you have a studio audience that claps for you, I have to say that I am one of those studio audience folks that you can't hear me clap. as I've listened to the podcast and am a consumer of your content as well. So
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to do that. But to answer your question, so what led me into the military is kind of a funny story. So I was looking in the paper for a job,
Oh my
and I
goodness.
saw an ad that said student loan repayment up to $66,000. I was like, "Oh, what job is this?" United States Army. I said, "Hell no, I'm not going into the military."
Right.
Because first of all, you could die. So that was
That
the
is a
first thought,
thing.
and so I was like, "Yeah, there's no way I'm going into the military." But then, like, I started to think about it, and so then there were three things that kind of won me over, and they were leadership, training, and development, travel, and just meeting people from all over the place. So you know what? I think I should seriously consider this. And so when I initially walked into a recruiter's office, the plan was to go big Army. So work with an Army recruiter. And this would have been like September of like 2008. And so then, so I had to drop like 40 pounds and uh,
Oh, so you didn't go in straight out of high school.
no,
Okay. I was
no,
thinking you did for whatever reason.
yeah, nope. And then, so then I had to drop weight. So I was working with the Army recruiter. And then March of 2009, my grandmother passed away. And
Hmm.
so she was an employee of Omaha Public Schools, and whenever word got around that she had passed, there were a lot of people who wanted to set up a scholarship fund in her name, and so the family kind of was like, "Hey, Vaughn, is this something you can manage?" I said, "Sure." And so then for me, it kind of made more sense to stay closer to home, and I'd had a conversation with my dad, and I just mentioned to him that's what I was planning to do, and he just affirmed that he felt that sounded like a good and a wise decision. And so, kind of, I guess, about that time, I switched over to the National Guard, working with a National Guard recruiter. And within a month and a half, I was shipping off to basic training, and I served 6 years. So from
Hmm.
2009 to 2015.
Oh, so you were in the military when I met you. Okay. I mean,
No, well,
National Guard, but
yeah,
yeah.
well, for some reason, I think I actually met you a little bit before I went in.
Okay. Oh, okay. So I guess we didn't talk as much then to where I would have really known that because I honestly don't remember everybody now at this point. It's over a decade now. How many years over a decade? Depending on whatever. I don't even know. Like, what is this, 2022? Yeah, I definitely knew you by 2012 for sure. So, huh. I'm trying to think of when Jason and I reconnected. Might have been '07, '08.
Now the question, what was that New Year's Eve situation? Was that the one where we played Rap Star?
We played it was some band game because I had an air guitar and this
Oh,
was
Rock
when,
Band.
huh?
We're probably playing Rock Band.
Yeah, and this was the one where, and this is actually a very traumatic, very like the only time Jason and Lisa have collectively induced trauma in my life. Which is funny because Jason was actually my first guest on the show whenever that was, the summer of 2020, I think. Or man, I don't, who knows what is time anymore. But anyways, we yeah, we played, I guess, Rock Band, and we decided we were going to start a band called Monk. Yeah, because they weren't even married yet at that point. They were just dating.
Oh
And
wow.
so they made all these promises of fame and fortune, and we never, like, it just never happened. And like, that was the first time that I realized that people in the industry be lying because they made all these promises that didn't happen, but we were able to overcome. And Jason, we're still friends despite his betrayal and lies and deceit. I still embraced Lisa as his fiance, then wife slash mother of his children, despite the betrayal and the lies and the deceit and the really just misrepresentation of what a manager or whatever should be in the industry. Y'all know I'm dramatic, so but yeah, so it was, I'm trying to think. I think his brother might have been his roommate, and some other, like, they weren't even married at that point, but he
Uh-huh.
was living in his house,
Yeah.
and you weren't even there long. Like,
Hmm.
I don't remember who else was there. Some other non-black people.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So anywho, all right, so you decided to be in the military. You actually went in later in life than I thought. For whatever reason, I was thinking military was actually before I met you. But what would you say, like, and it's funny because there was a point that I was considering joining the military after I had my son, just because I thought it would be a good way. I was gonna go Air Force, because that's what, like, my dad, his brothers, my mom, even. And when I say my dad, y'all, I don't mean my bio dad. I mean the man that actually was a part of my life. You know what I'm saying? So military, like, that's how I grew up, Air Force, and so I was gonna join, but I had my son at that point, and they said that I would have to give up, like, my parental rights or whatever, I guess, in case something happened, or I don't know, but it just didn't sound right, and it didn't sound like for any type of job it was worth it for me to be giving up my parental rights to my son, so I didn't do it. But I know there are certain disciplines that you probably learned or were instilled with you within the military, which is kind of why I wanted to join. So, how was that beneficial to you, like, once you got out and went back to civilian life? And then what was that like, having lived adult life as a civilian, then going into the military, and then being on the other side of that?
That's definitely a loaded question. Uh, as far as like the disciplines that I got out of the military, some of them like I had them before. So like things like reverse planning, where like for instance, if I like in order for me to be at the gym at 7 o'clock in the morning, well, I need to be up by 6:15 so that I have at least 30 minutes to get dressed, do the things I need to do, and have enough time to get to the gym on time. And then so what precedes that would be like however much sleep I want to have, and then so basically just start with the where you want to be and what time, and then work backwards to create a plan. Like I think most of us have probably started doing that in junior high, but but just to have that really emphasized because everything in the military was planning. So there was that. For other disciplines, I'd say anytime they're like you issue like an order is issued, they first issue what's called a warning order, and so I find that like the concept of the warning order just kind of like I've integrated that into my life. So like for instance, whenever I lived in Omaha and I was a juvenile probation tracker, and anytime that I was going to be stepping down or the decision had been made for a kid to like transition from me as a tracker to have another tracker, like I would just say, hey, just want to make you aware that you might be getting a new tracker. And so it may happen, it may not happen, but just so that if it does happen, I don't want you to be caught off guard. And so just doing that, and I try to do that in as many areas as possible. Anytime I know that there is a potential for something, I'm trying to warn a person just to give them a heads up. Hey, this might come down the pike, so that if it does, so that if it does happen, then like they're not caught off guard. And basically, it's just helping people to uh, helping the trend. What's the best way to say this? Whenever something changes, it makes the transition easier on people. So there's that, and then of course the physical fitness. And I've found as I kind of looked at my life, that anytime I was disciplined with my physical fitness, like other things have fallen into place. I feel like physical fitness is kind of like that it can be an anchor discipline where if you get that right, then like a lot of other disciplines fall into place. And I would probably say I would call the discipline of situational awareness. Like no matter like anytime I enter a room, I always like note where all the exits are. If there's anybody acting kind of like off, like I just notice that person. I just kind of observe, just kind of keep my eye on them. Those sorts of things. Just being aware of your surroundings and just being ready for if things go south quickly, like you've already figured out like what you can do in that situation to get yourself out of that situation. So
So in case some got your shank, in case some jump off, you know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah. And as far as like what it was like to be a civilian, then a service member, and then now a veteran, or back in civilian life for a long. So it wasn't as challenging because I was in the National Guard, and so my commitment was 1 week in a month and 2 weekends or 2 weeks in the summer for like our annual training. So I got to kind of like go be a soldier and then jump back to civilian life. So it wasn't as big of a transition. But I will say that the cool thing about the military was whenever I go back it was always fun going to drill, because then you get to catch up with all your battle buddies and just kind of catch up with the things that have happened in life since the last time you saw each other. And probably the one thing that's probably I'd say different in the military than say normal everyday life is the camaraderie. And so if there's one thing that I would say that I miss about the military, and it's the camaraderie. The fact that they take people from all over the country, different walks of life, put them all together. You suffer together, you train together, you do everything together, and so that's it's one of the cool aspects, I guess, of the military.
Hmm. So it sounds like the relational aspect kind of you really, really appreciated, which I'm not surprised of that. What was your job or okay, so like when you would go to for the weekends or during the week, like what did you do during that time?
Yeah, so it depended on the drill, but so my military job, I was a 92 Alpha, which is an automated logistical specialist, which basically that's a fancy term for just saying that I can do just about anything in a warehouse. And so for me, I was primarily responsible for like clothing records, so making sure people's clothing records, that they had their TA-50. Basically, they had all the gear that they needed, and if they didn't, like we could put in an order for gear. Anytime soldiers need new uniforms, they turn in their old uniforms. I issue them new uniforms. And then the same thing my supply sergeant would tell me to do. That's what I would do.
Okay. So, since what I can remember, I guess, of you is that since I've known you, you've worked like a few different jobs, but they've all pretty much been either working with youth. So, like when he was a juvenile tracker, there was even a point where our careers kind of worked together as I was the gang intervention specialist that would work with. So we would have like some youth in common, which was kind of nice because you can't really talk about that stuff usually with your friends because of confidentiality and all that. So for me, it was nice to have a friend that I would talk to about stuff anyway, that I could also talk about this kid that I was struggling with or just, whatever. So that was kind of nice just because it was a job where I was alone a lot. So I had a boss and then I had whatever. So yeah, I remember that. Or you've done stuff like in the social work field, or you worked in ministry, like officially that was your job, doing stuff ministry related. So, have you always been this way where you've kind of been like passionate about helping others, or when did this start? And like, if you remember, kind of like what sparked that drive within you? Because in every job that I've seen you in, And then if you're not working a job, like right now you're running an electrician company, so that's a little bit different, but you still have a Bible study that you're leading. So you're still doing stuff where you're pouring into people. So kind of like, when did that start? What sparked that? What keeps you going, even because it can be draining at times?
That's a great question. I think if I can identify where it started, it probably, wow, I didn't even know that that would pop up. It probably like so. What's coming up for me right now is I remember being in sixth grade, and I
Mm.
remember we had a half day, and I was going to Pawnee Elementary, and I had a buddy named Jamar, and Jamar was something happened, and he was about to storm off and leave campus, and so I looked around and I saw that nobody was trying to stop him. So like I was in the front of the line, so I jumped out and I ran and I stood in front of him. I was like, bro, don't go. He was like, no, no, forget this. And so then I just grabbed him and I just had him in a bear hug. And I'm like, listen, we got a half day. We got about 2 hours left today. Like, come on, let's just go back in and then let's just finish out the day. So then he listened to reason. And so he went back in and I remember walking in and all of a sudden, like I'm walking, that was something like this. And I look up and like my sixth grade teacher had hugged me, and she basically said thank you for your leadership. And I was like,
Mm.
what? So I think so that's the first experience that kind of like pops up, and so then as I've gone on, of course, so I was about 12 then. So a couple years later, I had a conversion experience where I converted to Christianity and such, and I think that. You know, I guess becoming a Christian, some of the messages you get, um, and then also kind of the messages within the culture about pay it forward and those sorts of things. So, being that I grew up in a single parent home and I did well in school, so I got that label of an at risk youth or whatever. But then also even within my home, because of the situation, like just making the choice to step up and try to help my mom out where I could, and just kind of being in that role of, I guess taking care of the people around you. I just think that all that came together to make service oriented, professional situations a good fit. Now I kind of look at those things differently now because. And I was thinking about this earlier today, but if you would have asked me 10 years ago, okay, why did I get into this field? I would say, oh, I was just paying it forward. I was just, I was that 13-year-old kid who had, a caring adult come into my life who guided me, and that was my mentor, Pastor Val. He was my pastor for 19 years, and then after those 19 years were up, I've since served on the board of his organization. Um, uh, Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I'm trying to get back on.
Thought you were about to cry.
No, no. But today I would say probably. I think what was actually at work was just me kind of working out those things that happened when I was younger. I think
Okay.
just being used to being in that role. It was very easy for me to so I had this role in my home, and so then all of a sudden I was presented with the opportunity to do the same thing for a career, so it's just a natural segue. But as I've been kind of away from I've lived out in California for a few years, and there's been growth and development stuff there. I think looking back, um, yeah, I just think that it was kind of like opportunities to respond to familiar situations in different ways. And what I mean by that is that like in my work with uh let's take a treatment home. So I worked in a treatment group home for about 7 years, and so you're in situations where teenagers are experiencing uh, challenging situations. Now, for me, there was no one there for me because, my mom was working all the time, and I'm taking care of my siblings. But then in this situation, I was able to be for these young people what someone wasn't for me. So, yeah, and sometimes I think another segue idea about that. I remember hearing TD Jake say one time, the quickest way to get what you didn't get is to give what you never received.
Hmm.
And so I just kind of took that message to heart, and so I think that was a huge motivator for being in that field, at least for the first part of my career. I think these days, the thing that kind of keeps me going and what motivates me to, I guess, help out is just to realize that I am one link in a very long chain. That that I'm convenient to help out, but everything doesn't rise and fall on me. And to answer your other question about how have I lasted so long or what keeps me kind of in the field is just realizing that because that allows me to rest and to chill out when I need to, and to not get overly invested in people's lives. Because sometimes, and I've had this happen in the past, where I could get so invested in someone's life where I end up giving more than this person is giving, and it's like,
Hmm.
well, I shouldn't be working harder than you
Right.
at helping you get somewhere in life that you want to get. Like, if you want to get there in life, you should be more motivated than me to get there. And so I'll match you, but I'm not going to take responsibility for your life and you getting somewhere because that's not mine to own. And but I can definitely be over here, be a cheerleader. I can support you in any way that I can, within reason that makes sense, and in a way that doesn't fully deplete me. Um, so yeah.
Hmm. Good stuff. Very important for people to definitely them be putting more effort in, or at least as much effort at the very least, not you putting in more effort than them. Let's switch gears real quick, because I definitely want to talk about that, given your like ministry background and even just what I know of you, as a black man in America. I don't know why I said it America, but be glad I didn't start singing the song, y'all. But you are someone that I know, and when I say the song, I mean This Is America. Just so there's no confusion. But anyways, you are someone who I know has been in spaces where you may be the only black person or one of very few. And so throughout your life, when was the first time in life that you really noticed, like just noticed that? Because I feel like when kids are little, depending on how they're raised, it's not pointed out as much, but then there's just this some point in life when you realize what it means, not what it means to be black, but just like how different that can make situations. Y'all already know I'm never on here to try to bash anybody, so that's why I'm trying to say this as respectfully as possible or whatever. But yeah, when was the first time that you noticed that, and like what was it that caused you to notice that?
Hmm. I think I first noticed it whenever I started going to school outside of North Omaha.
Hmm.
So initially I started off, kindergarten going to Druid Hill, and then that was for kindergarten at first. And second grade we went to uh, Saratoga for second and third grade. Then fourth grade I went to Bancroft, and that's way on the other side of town. And
Hmm.
then like with 2 months left in fifth grade, we moved to Pawnee. And then I was at Norris, and then we were back in North Omaha at North High. So, I would say it was probably when I first. I think when I noticed it, it was whenever I started going to school outside of North Omaha. Even though there were still other black students, It's just that whenever I would get, I don't know, selected to be in some special thing like Future Probe or whatever else, stuff like that is where I would be the only one. And then sometimes what I'm trying to say is that the time when I felt it was whenever I was in honor classes or whenever I was in things like Future Probe and like extracurricular activities. At least between like late elementary, early junior high, and through junior high.
And so it was simply just the fact that you're like, dang, nobody else looks like me. There wasn't like a someone mistreated you or anything like that. And I'm not trying to lead your answer. I'm just clarifying, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
at that young age, yeah.
yeah. That's right. Don't get me wrong. I've definitely had those experiences, but the things that stand out to me are just what I've shared. So
Right. All right, cool. So, um every black person has had this moment where either they say out loud, I tend to say it out loud, even if I'm by myself, or they say it to someone else if, where they say, I love us, I love being black, I love black people, something where we just have this moment where we just love whatever is happening because there are many different things that can cause a black person to say it where we're just like, man, I love us. Might say, why are we like this? But so what are a few moments? It doesn't have to be the first time. It could even be something recently, or it can be just something memorable where you just really were like, man, I love being black. I love and I always have this as part of this show because the whole point of Melanintoxicate is to celebrate the beauty within black people. So even though I did ask him the question about when was the first time he noticed, that he was the only black person, definitely want to highlight though and don't want to stay on that. Why do you love being black, or what were a few times that you said that, felt that, whatever.
yeah, so I'll start off answering that question by saying one of the things I appreciate about Black people as a collective is how we have been leaders, no matter how much power we wield.
Hmm.
So when I
Elaborate.
so when I
Yeah.
say that, I think about like the civil rights movement, how black people were leading the charge. Now, and the thing is that since the civil rights movement, other groups have piggybacked on the civil rights movement to get the things that they were looking to gain, to achieve their collective goals. And some of those groups have gotten more, in my view, than black people have, even though it was the civil rights movement that sparked a lot of these other movements. And then so that's from the 60s, 70s, and then we look at more recently, we like say like the Black Lives Matter movement, or we can even look at and this is another thing I appreciate about Black people as a collective is how creative we are, but also just how like we're cultural leaders. Like a lot of the like trends in terms of how we talk, like a lot of the things that we create in terms of like slang. I mean, of course, it's called what's it called, AAVE or whatever it's called now.
Right.
Uh, but just like we set trends with language, like words words change, like the uses of words change whenever we change the usage, and other people hear us using it, they figure out what it is, then all of a sudden it gets integrated in to where you got people in the marketing space talking about up leveling and leveling up and stuff like that, and that's just one small example. I'll say
Before
definitely.
before you move away from this though, and I'm trying not to cut people off, but
Yeah, no problem.
I love the way you said that. You said the meaning of the word changes when we change it. Like
Mhm.
I never really thought of it because that just sounds like there's, and you started this off talking about we have power even when we don't necessarily, like it hasn't been given to us. So, like, the power for a group of people to literally take a word and change the definition. Yeah, it's slang, or I think it is AA whatever now. But just the power behind that is, I never even thought of it that way. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. And I'd say I think I mentioned the strength and resilience that we've had, and I think, and this is the big one, is the joy we have in the midst of situations and circumstances that have been known to kill the joy in other people from other groups.
Mm,
And it's like no matter what happens in our collective history, we always find a way to laugh and to express our joy or find joy, and despite what's
mhm.
going on around us. So yeah,
Yep.
and I think at least a contemporary thing that I appreciate is like Black Twitter, and I'll even say Black TikTok. If I'm having a bad day, I know that those two places are places I can go to get myself back on point because I am guaranteed to laugh.
Man,
Guaranteed.
listen. I love Black Twitter. Like, I am not one of those people that ever needs to take a break from Twitter. I'm only not on Twitter as much if I'm busy. I'm only not on TikTok as much if I'm busy. So I love Black Twitter. I will never forget January 3rd, I think it was 2020. Yeah, because I was, as the pandemic hadn't really officially started yet. But I remember waking up and getting on Twitter, gosh, and like there was threats of war at this point. This was like we could have all been about to die. You know what I'm saying? We didn't really know what was going on. But all I know is I get on Twitter,
I think I know where this is going.
and the first tweet that I saw, I didn't even know what was going on because I had literally just woke up and hopped on Twitter. And I get on Twitter and I see a meme where there's this old lady kneeling on the side of her bed, like praying, and then a nuclear bomb goes off, and I like really should not have been laughing at this, but and then I was like, what? So I'm cracking up laughing, and then I just keep scrolling, and every tweet going down my timeline for a while was just so many jokes about the impending doom that we were all facing. And it wasn't just black people. That's what I love about Twitter, because when it's something global, you see tweets from all over the world, you know what I'm saying? But and then Black TikTok, my gosh, the way how fast they move to make a video about whatever. Like, I don't even know how these people come up with these ideas that quickly. Like, something could happen today, later today, or tomorrow at the latest. There will be a hilarious video that I'm just like, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it because laughing is my favorite thing to do. And yes.
And it'll be within hours.
Mhm. 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 Yep.
Sometimes don't take that long.
Yep. 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 Like it. Yeah. It really. Oh man. Like I remember when Kobe died. Oh gosh. And I like that's a death that I cried about. There have been very few celebrity deaths because I mean I don't know them. You know what I'm saying? But for him being someone that I was in high school when he got drafted. So like me, no, but prior to that, me remember him on Moesha. So let's go back that far. Then he got drafted, and then someone that I got to watch his entire career. Now, did I watch every game? No, because you know what I'm saying, I ain't about to lie. But still, just seeing his entire career to him retiring and all that, like you don't get to see that with very many players, and so um I definitely cried. However, I will never forget the tweet that I saw that somebody had drawn basically God taking the helicopter and throwing it and saying Kobe.
What?
Yes, yes, yes. Now I ain't draw it, y'all. So, you know, I don't care if y'all judge me because I wouldn't have said it if I did, but I ain't draw it. I just seen it on the timeline, and I have a very wild sense of humor. Like, even in tragedy in my own life, making jokes is kind of like how I cope. So, man, Black Twitter is like really, really clutch in a crisis because, like you said, we are guaranteed to laugh, which thank God we have that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Speaking of creativity, this is a great segue. I couldn't have had a better segue if unless I wrote notes and wrote that on there.
Yeah.
So you have a few different creative outlets that I know you get into, writing and stuff like that. What would you say is your favorite creative outlet that you actually do or get into?
Well, I think I have a favorite one for different situations. So when I'm bored at work, doodling is is one.
Hmm.
Downtime at home is probably cracking jokes, or finding like the funny silver lining in a situation that like I hadn't seen anyone like, but basically like that's unique to me, like something that I saw, observed the situation, and my brain goes off on this tangent, and then I laugh to myself, or whether it be I laugh hard or I laugh like I just kind of chuckle. Um, that's one, but probably the overarching one is probably journaling, and and I say journaling because I can gauge a lot about my life through about by looking at my journaling life.
Hmm.
Um, During the times when I'm not journaling as often, like when I'm in a rhythm and I'm doing it consistently, like I know that my life's on point because the stuff inside is getting processed. So the way I look at life is like um, just living, just observing. Like all my senses are taking stuff in, and it's just thrown in there. Whenever I journal, that's my way of sorting it out and putting it somewhere, and typically it's me sorting it out and putting it on the page, and so I'm kind of sorting it out as I'm writing, and I always feel relief after when I'm done writing because I've taken what was inside of me, taken it out, and I've set it somewhere, so then there's space available inside for other things. So, and I think that space is a lot of where the creativity comes from. Um, so so yeah, so whenever I know whenever I'm frustrated, I have a short when I have a short fuse, or whenever I'm just annoyed, frustrated. Typically, I'm not writing, and then I know, okay, it's been a minute since I've written, so I need to. Even if I just do one page or I do a half page, like I need to put some words on a page before I go to bed tonight. So,
Hmm. Do you go back and read your journals ever?
very rarely. And so I have a stack of papers where I had a journal that was basically a notebook, and I tore all the pages out and threw the tattered wire bent up notebook in the trash, and they're just sitting like on a table in my bedroom, and I haven't read them yet. Sometimes I'll peruse them, but I haven't actually sat down and read them. But I'll probably make that a priority pretty soon because some of those are from like 2019, whenever I was like I'd only been here for maybe 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, and so it'll be interesting to see what's the same and what's changed.
Hmm. All right. So, speaking of reflection and such, what are some goals you're working on right now?
Ooh, goals. So one of the goals I'm working on, I'm currently taking classes for to be a real estate appraiser. So I'm hoping to get my last few classes done so I can be an official appraisal trainee.
So,
Hopefully, I can get.
Sorry, what is what is a real estate ugh, what is that, what you just said? A real
Oh,
estate appraiser.
yeah, real estate appraiser is a person who gives an opinion of value. So,
Mm,
let's say I don't know. Let's say a family member passed away, and they left you like an estate. And so, in order for you to determine what the best thing is to do with that estate, you'll probably get an appraiser to appraise the property to see what you're working with, so then you can make decisions like, does it make sense for us to keep it? Is it and typically, like like if you're going to bring someone on like that, you'd probably let them know what you're considering, so they know what they need to do in order to give you an appraisal that will be reflective of what your aims are in the situation. So, like if for instance, in that situation, if you're thinking about holding on to it and leaving it as a single property, selling it, or keeping it and maybe subdividing it up and renting out like rooms in it, like each one of those, you'd probably enact a different there'd be a different procedure for how you would go about assessing value. So like if you're going to leave it as one deal that you're going to keep, I mean, you'd have to look at all the numbers to see if that makes sense. But if you're going to sell it, of course, you're gonna want to know like what the value of the land is versus the land plus the property sitting on the land. And then also like let's say a consideration would be to bulldoze it and the rebuild. Like, so I say all that to say, like, just depending on the situation, like an appraiser is a person that you would go to give you an opinion of value, so you can make an educated decision about how you want to move forward with what you want to do with the property.
interesting. Never heard of that. It makes sense though, but yeah, I had never heard that term. So you're working towards that. So with all that you're working towards, working on, you have a full-time job, you lead Bible study, you have your workouts, you have social life and all these things. Like, how do you balance all of that really to make sure that you are good to be able to pour out to all these things?
Yeah, I'm gonna answer that question. I want to mention one more goal. I have a goal to hike Cowles Mountain 27 times, and I'm 5 hikes into it. So that was super sidebar. But anywho, to answer your question,
Shout out to the 5 though, because I
yes,
have literally hiked 0 mountains ever in life.
yeah. So I would say the first thing that comes to mind is making sure I have one night a week to myself that's for me. And typically on that night, I don't do anything, so I'm not going out being social. I don't have anything that I'm committed to doing. And actually, tonight will be that night for me. Once I'm done with this podcast interview.
Oh, thank you for
No,
sacrificing
well,
your night.
no, because typically, like during this time, I might be doing, depending on the day, I might have went back to the gym, or I might have linked up with a friend, because he's, going up to San Marcos or whatever. But I was like, nah, like, no, it's perfect because like I'm here, I'm doing this, and then when the camera goes off, I'm probably gonna go lay in the bed. I might even go to bed early tonight.
Mm.
I'll say also like, to get out in nature at least once every 2 weeks, and so typically that's when I go on the hike, to go mountain hiking, and I'm probably going to integrate in like hiking at some other places here because San Diego has a lot of hiking places where you can hike. And then something else that helps me is being alone in silence. I think in our culture, like we we praise the extroverts, and everything is noise and activity and being out among people. And I think that like, to use an analogy, like everything works better when you unplug it every once in a while. And
Mm.
I think that the same is true for us as humans. And so I think one of the ways that I unplug is just by sitting in silence. Sometimes I'll do like 10 minutes, and sometimes I've done as long as an hour, just sitting in silence and just kind of, yeah, just disconnecting. So
Now, with the night to yourself, is it the same night every week, or you just make sure that one night a week you have to yourself?
I just make sure one night a week I have to myself because the social calendar kind of fluctuates
Mm-hmm.
depending on somebody has a birthday party on Thursday night, or they just want to the fellas want to get together on Tuesday night for a social night or whatever. It just kind of depends. So I just try to make sure that there's at least one night that I have for me.
So, what's one piece of advice before we get out of here that you would give to my listeners related to anything, honestly? Just something you think would add value to their day, week, or their whole life in general?
Um, I would say this is gonna sound wild coming from me. It feels wild that I'm about to say this. Um, I would say treat your friendships, treat friends like employees. Be slow.
I'm sorry. If you're listening, you can't see my face. He can. I am shocked. As his friend of many, many years. I'm sorry to interrupt. That was so rude. But I
No,
was
no, no.
so shocked
Like I said, it's wild coming from me.
because that is not at all how. Yeah, go ahead. Finish
Yeah.
that.
So what I mean by that is be slower to hire
Mm.
on the front end, but also be quicker to move on should that be warranted. And
Say
when
that again. Say that again. Say that again.
be slower to hire on the front end and be quicker to move on the back end if you can.
Thank you, y'all. Yeah, that was a gem.
Yeah, because sometimes like it's harder to move on, and the thing is like you don't have to make a grand announcement like in order to move on. But I think the important thing to realize on the back end about first of all, being slow to hire is don't be so quick to call people your friends. Like give
Mm.
yourself time to vet them, to watch them, to see them through at least at least 4 seasons before you start before you start calling them friend. It's first thing because sometimes like people I feel like the average length of time that a person can keep a mask on is 6 months to a year. And so at some point, like the mask and who they are, if they're not being fully who they are, like that mask is gonna start to slip. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the first thing. And on the back end, like you have to understand that like everything that exists in your life exists at the expense of something else. And so like if you have people in your life that you know that like, hey, this relationship has expired. It's time to move on. Like the longer you hold on to that, like that thing is taking up space that someone else who's a better fit for you and who you are and where you're going is taking up. So the quicker you move on, the quicker you create the space for the thing you actually want and or need, and then the quicker you create the space, the quicker that space can be filled.
Mm. I like that. Slower to hire, quicker to fire. That's that's basically,
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Vaughn, thank you so. Oops, I'm up here making noise. Hold on, let me set that down. Thank you so much for your time, your just wisdom, just thank you for agreeing to do the episode because if only y'all understood how last minute I really asked this man when I usually try to be more ahead with guest episodes. So I appreciate just you making the time when you really didn't have to. Before we get out of here, is there anything you have coming up that you want to promote, or where can the people find you on social media if you want them to follow you on social media? And then if not, just kidding.
Yeah. So my handles on IG and TikTok. Those are the places I'm at primarily. Is lo-fi LOFI_Vaughn. I had a friend call me a lo-fi human, and I just kind of that just resonated, kind of like lo-fi hip hop music. And I was like, yeah, that describes me. So my handles are lofi_Vaughn. Yeah, I was just say feel free to follow me on those places now. If you find me on IG, like my account is private, it's not because I'm trying to hide. It just helps me to manage the scammers that are trying to follow me. So it's more of a gatekeeping thing to keep, because like before scammers would just follow me, then I'd have to like, you know, unconnect them, un
Remove them.
yeah, remove them. I had to remove them. So now it's just like I can just say yay or nay. So I mean, basically, as long as people have like content on their IG, you know, I'll typically, you know, accept them as my friends and I'll follow them back. So, other than that, I have a brand that I work with, the I Am Better Than Me brand. I'll just flash a sweatshirt real quick, and I should have stuff up on uh, on my platform. So if people are interested in that, they can rock with the brand. So that's it.
All right. I will have the link to his IG and TikTok in the episode notes. Again, thank you, Vaughn, for being on the show. The listeners for listening to the show. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you guys are taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, and wake and create.
And then
That's so.
they need to buy so many of these that like I don't know, it makes something break.
I'm trying to get into getting some inventory. Now, obviously, that costs money. So that's kind of what I'm trying to work on simply because I realize some people will buy stuff online. Some people just don't like ordering stuff online. And so, shout out to the people that have bought either Melanintoxicate merchandise and or even podcast merchandise when I was promoting that. I obviously still promote Melanintoxicate all the time, but I'm trying to figure out. I don't even know. I'm trying to figure out a lot of stuff, but shout out to y'all. Make sure that you guys are like taking care of yourself. Let's start that all over because I messed that all the way up. So mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, make sure that you are healthy, make sure that you're being healthy in your relationships, which I love the whole slow to hire, quick to fire. Like, and you know what? If somebody has been your friend for a long time and you can tell their season has ended, it is okay to just stop talking to them. It doesn't have to be this, I'm cutting you off. Just fall back. And sometimes the natural progression of life is that they just won't reach out because y'all don't have anything in common anymore, and that's okay. Like you um that whole no new friends mentality is very toxic because some of my closest friends that I talk to the most in this season, I didn't even know prior to podcasting. I've met a lot of the dopest people in the podcast community that have been so supportive of every creative and professional endeavor in an outward way so that like I know you're supporting. No shade to the people that support in their own, their own ways, but I'm just saying like these are the people that will share my tweets. These are the people that will interact with my content because they understand how that helps the algorithm. These are the people that will interact with my TikToks or even follow me on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? So man, yeah, have healthy relationships that are mutually beneficial. In every season of life, you need to have people that are that. And if you don't have that, then you need to kind of assess your circle and see whose season has ended, who do you need to fall back from, who do you need to cut off or have that actual conversation, because sometimes you do have to have those uncomfortable conversations. But life and or your social media too, like if you feel like you got to take a break from social media because there's too many fake people, then you need to cleanse your followers and your friends on social media. Like people hate Facebook. I love it. You know what I'm saying? It's no different than anywhere else, but I also don't have people on my Facebook that I don't want to see what y'all have to say. You know what I'm saying? I don't care who you are. I will block you, I will unfollow you, I will unfriend you depending on what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So social media should be social, y'all. So have those healthy relationship dynamics. Thanks for rocking with us through this episode. I feel like it started off kind of weird because I felt like I didn't know what I was doing, or I don't even know. But if you're still here, you powered through that, and I appreciate y'all. And I will talk to y'all soon. As always, I'm here every week. Bye.
Ladies and gents, this concludes transmission. Tune in next time for a whole new edition. Another adventure and mission to share, be heard, and clarify the vision of this whole new world for Tam.